All right, Debbie, can you hear me? Debbie, can you hear me? Yay. I can't hear any of you. Oh, now I can.
How long is it? Yeah. I like the little short jobs. Great times. It should be good if you maybe sit in the try to get up and then. It's okay. That's great. Yeah, they've got the application. It's got the application. Yeah. Nice. That's what I did.
All right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock in Arlington. Can everybody hear me okay?
Can hear you, Larry.
Is it too echoey or is it okay?
Okay.
Okay. I want to say good evening and welcome. Thank you for all joining us. And I can talk louder. I can even take off my headphones. Is that better? Debbie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you all for joining us, whether it's online or in person. We're so excited to have so many in the audience tonight. And we'll get started with our first thing on the agenda, which is our land acknowledgement. And Deja, would you be willing to read that for us?
Yes. We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Still-Squamish Tribe of Indians. The Still-Squamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their ancestors have remained in this territory to this day. The Still-Squamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Still-Squamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believe that everything has a spirit and that they are caretakers of these lands and waters.
Thank you, Deja. Next, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next up, we'll have our roll call attendance. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond. Director Kelly.
Here.
Director Watt.
Present.
President Levesque.
Here.
Director Knapp. Here. Student Advisor Nichols.
Here.
Advisor Reed. Oh, did I hear Nathan? Wonderful.
Oh, yes.
Student Advisor Reed.
Here.
Superintendent Sweeney. Here.
Thank you. And next we'll have our approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to change on the agenda, or do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented. I'll second.
That sounded like Director
We got it.
Kelly. You got it? And can we take a vote?
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Watts.
Aye.
President Levesque.
Aye.
Director Knapp. Yes.
Thank you. The agenda is approved as presented. Next is the student presentation portion of our meeting. And we'd like to start with our President's Elementary Annual Student-Led Martin Luther King Jr. Day Assembly. And we'd like to welcome Jamie Miller, our principal at President's Elementary, with teacher and student guests. We're so excited to have you all here with us.
Okay. Do you want them to fit in their spots or to come up?
No, they were going to. come
Okay, good.
out. I just didn't know
All
what
right.
was happening.
All right, let's
more concerned about
filter
the
in
clicker.
by number. So number 1. There you go. Come on over. I brought the whole student body. Okay, let's come over a little bit further. You can curve. Yeah, and in front of the owls, doesn't matter. Perfect. What grade are we looking at? So these are our 5th grade students, and they're going to show you their Martin Luther King Assembly presentation, which they're going to be doing Thursday in front of the whole school. And so they pretty much have this whole thing ready to go with their slideshow that they have for the assembly. And our 5th grade teachers prepped them for this. So, you know, it was a group effort, and I really appreciate all the work that they all put in. And I'll let them take it away.
We want to thank you for coming to our presentation today. Please remember to show Panther behavior and be respectful to all of our student speakers today. We are excited to share with you about leaders that came from all over the world that use their voices to lead.
Today and every day, we want to give thanks to the Coast Salish people, specifically the Stillaguamish tribe, for the land that we live and play on. We respect and honor their rich history and continued contributes to our community.
We want to start off by telling you about Martin Luther King Jr. He was born on January 15th, 1929. After experiencing racism as a child, he worked hard to remind everyone that we should treat people fairly, even if we're different from each other. One of his proudest accomplishments was in 1963 when he delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, where he described his hope for a better future for everyone. Sadly, in 1968, he was assassinated, but his legacy continues to this day. One of the ways that Martin Luther King was able to encourage others to join him in the fight for equality was by using honesty. He once said, "The time is always right to do what is right." One of the most important things to remember about Martin Luther King Jr. is that he didn't achieve everything that he did by himself. He had friends, family, and supporters from around the world that believed in the change he was hoping to bring. Martin Luther King Jr. definitely had a voice that was meant to lead. He was inspired and encouraged by leaders before him, and still today we follow his lead and the lead of others. Please join us as we learn about other voices that lead and how they help to change the world. George Washington Carver spent most of his childhood in slavery. He went to an all-black school and slept in a barn. He worked hard and began a career as an agricultural scientist. He used his voice by encouraging farmers to grow peanuts and sweet potatoes as an easy and robust source of food. He spent the rest of his life teaching others how to become lifelong learners. He once said, "Start where you are, with what you have, make something of it, and never be satisfied." Rosa Parks was a civil rights activist. She is best known for her refusal to give up her seat on a segregated bus in December of 1955. She ended up being arrested and taken to jail for her actions. However, her arrest led to the largest bus boycott called the Montgomery Bus Boycott that lasted for a year and a half. The actions of her and other courageous people led to the Supreme Court ruling that segregation on buses was against the law in 1956. She encouraged others to show perseverance by saying, "To bring about change, you must not be afraid to take the first step. We will fail when we fail to try." On January 20th, 2009, Barack Obama became the 45th President of the United States. He was the first African-American president in our nation's history. As Republican president, he dedicated his life to public service and more than as the United States military than the United States military. He is well known for his strength of character and his ability to work with all people, even those that he doesn't always agree with. President Obama taught us that we should always treat people with respect wherever they are, and if you do that, then you're going to be okay. In 1960, Ruby Bridges, a 6-year-old first grader in New Orleans, became the first Black student to attend an all-white elementary school. She walked past hateful protesters to become the first by showing love, forgiveness, and courage when facing white students who laughed and teased her every day as she walked to her school. Guards had to walk her to school every day, but she never gave up. She's currently a civil rights activist, author, a speaker who works to end racism in education and promote tolerance. Ruby displayed courage by standing up for justice, facing racism, and forgiving the students who teased her. She once said, "Don't follow the path, go where there is no path, and begin the trail. When you start a new trail with goodness,
with clear strength and conviction. The only thing that can stop you is you. Anne Frank was born in Frankfurt, Germany on June 12, 1929. Her life changed dramatically at the age of 10 when Europe entered World War II. During World War II, military forces rounded up people that were different from them and separated them from their families and friends. Anne and her family were forced to hide because they were different. To avoid being captured and separated, they hid in an attic at her dad's home. On Anne's 13th birthday, just before going into hiding, she got a dagger. While in hiding for 2 years, she wrote down what was going on around her, her feelings, hopes, and dreams. Anne's family was eventually discovered, and sadly, only Anne's father survived the war. Got Anne's diary and had it published. So now everyone around the world would know Anne's story. With all the pain and suffering that Anne knows taking place around her, she still left us with a lesson in gratitude. She once said, "I don't think of all the misery, but of the beauty that still remains." Jackie Robinson was born in 1919 on January 31st in Charlotte, North. As a kid, Jackie Robinson loved sports, especially baseball. But it was hard for him to get into any league because of his skin color. His dream was to go to MLB, but he knew it was going to be hard. With a lot of hard work, perseverance, and cooperation, on April 15th, 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first African American to play in Major League Baseball. He changed more than just baseball, he changed other people's beliefs. Jackie's number 42 can no longer be worn by any player in Major League Baseball. As a sign of respect for him and his legacy of breaking barriers, Jackie taught us no matter our differences, we can still work together. He said, "I'm not concerned with you liking me or disliking me. I just want you to respect me as a human being." Mother Teresa was born on the 26th of August in 1910. She became known as the saint because of the good deeds that she did throughout her life. Some of the good things she did were helping the poor and homeless, helping the sick, opening schools, orphanages, and more. She did so many good things that she won the Nobel Peace Prize. She passed away on September 5th, 1997, but led a good life that inspired others. Mother Teresa taught us that we can show empathy to all people. She once said, "Be faithful in small things, because it is in them that your strength lies."
Cesar Chavez fought for civil rights for farm workers all over the world. After he came home from his service in the Navy, he began working on farms, which had him working long shifts with no supplied shade, bathrooms, and for very little money. He created the United Farm Workers of America, which was the first successful farm union in the United States. This union made sure that farm owners provided for their workers in respectful ways, including fair pay. The UFW is still fighting for civil rights, and it shows how Caesar's perseverance still matters today. His hard work and dedication to making sure that farm workers were treated fairly was a good example of perseverance. He once said, "Si se puede," which means yes, it can be done. Michelle Obama is a former president of the United States, advocate for health and wellness education, poverty awareness, and best-selling author. She dedicated her life to public service as an attorney and as a First Lady of the United States. Even after leaving office, she continued to use her voice to encourage others to lead by example and not fear. Michelle Obama wanted us all to remember we've got a responsibility to live up to the legacy of those who came before us, by doing all that we can to help those who come after us. Mohandas Gandhi was born in 1869 in India. He grew up in a very religious home and was taught about living simply. When he was 18, Gandhi began studying law in London, England. Gandhi believed that change can happen without violence. To fight unjust laws, he led a 240-mile march to the Arabian Sea that started with 80 people. By the end, had over 50,000 people marching alongside him. Gandhi is a true example of how nonviolence can make a change. He once said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Gandhi taught us that kindness towards everyone can make a great difference in the world.
Thank you to all our fifth grade student leaders. Thank you to our middle school helpers for helping prepare our stage decor. Thank you to our fifth grade teachers for helping us prepare. Thank you to Miss Miller and Miss Mossberg. Thank you to our school board members for having us present. Thank you to all of our Panther teachers for reminding us that we can change the world.
That was beautifully done. Nice job. Do we have any questions from board members?
No, thank you so much. That was so well done.
So well
Very,
done.
impressed.
Very
Thank
prepared.
you.
Perfect.
Very impressive. Nicely done.
Who gonna relinquish the clip or two? All right.
No,
That was her to do. I got three. So well done.
And thank you all for coming tonight. You do not have to stay, but you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Yeah, do not go here. Oh, it's coming, big. It's 2024. You look at 24 right now. It's great.
All right, somebody give me a signal when the next group is ready. We're super excited to welcome our special music for our School Board Recognition Month.
Mr. Weaver.
We're ready.
Thumbs up. You're on the screen.
I'm just waiting to come in.
All right, Chris, do you want to introduce our guests for us?
Okay, tonight we're having a night to honor our school board, but it's a whole month is being recognized as a school board recognition month. And that's because I think it's 30 years ago, 1995, that's when the first school board month for January started. And it started as a tribute to the people that volunteer their time and their energy to serve our public schools. Well, tonight, we're going to start with Kendrick Weaver and our wonderful flight students and some wonderful music. And then we have some other things that will follow that. So welcome.
So I just want to say a quick thank you. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. We're very happy to be here. We know how much it takes to be on the school board. We've had 2 flight members that are on the student council. And you know how much you put into the work you put into the schools, and just, we want to thank you very much.
First tune was Satellite featuring our very own Kendra Simpson. Next, we've got Sun and the Moon, also a song about connection. So it was fitting for this is Johnny Hill, soloist.
Headed over just to say, a pretty baby, you and me. So great, you know, shining. You really can see a different side of the now the birds are singing, the bars will never see the things awaken in the night. Stars are blind on our face combine, people shining brighter than when you baby, I'll be something together, so if you want, I can see that. So see that it's all that's a me and Sunny will join us too. And that's
For having us. I feel really lucky and really honored to be working at a program where we've had so much support from the board over the years. It's just like grown into this enormous monster of a music program.
Bandy's and car people or something.
Yeah, like,
Kind of attached.
thank you for having us, appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We'll say it gives me shades of graduation.
Yeah.
I know. I look forward to that performance. It's
Yeah.
very special. So not so far away, guys.
Oh, that's-
I was looking at today's day 80 for me as a teacher. I'm like, 100 more to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is there, we know, you will have cake in a few months.
Yes, I'll tell them to hang
If
on.
you just hang it for a moment. So, next, I'd like to invite, Brooke Howe, the principal of Howard. Come up, she can squeeze through there in a moment. Brooke Howe, would you like to come up for a moment and say a few words?
So on behalf of Howler Middle School and our leadership, our staff, I reached out to Rachel Harrington, who is our new ASB advisor, and her kids went all four. So you have a lot of fabulous things written about
Oh,
you.
sweet.
The school board's near and dear to my heart because my dad served on the school board for 8 years. We lived in a tiny little town of New Halem. And so he had to drive, you know, however often you guys go and do this, which was, felt like often during the 8 years he was on it, all throughout my high school years. He drove from New Hampshire down to Concrete and wherever else he needed to be. And didn't always vote the way his daughter would have liked for him to vote on things, but he stood, well, we had one situation, I have to say this, he voted for a girl not to wrestle because his son was in wrestling and I was a jock and an athlete, so I went against his values sometimes and we had good arguments at home, but it sort of taught me a lot of how to talk to adults and how to have good, solid political arguments. He was very political. And I just think it's really special what you do. Our students wrote some really fabulous things. We brought some gift bags for you with some
Thank
treats
you
for
very
you.
much.
And then a couple of our staff members wrote some things too, just to the general board. So from Howard Middle School, we really appreciate you. We're excited to have you at our school on Friday.
Thank you.
And we'll catch up with Mary when she gets back on Friday too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so to, just move, we want to get into the cake, so the kids can have cake and you have some cake. I'd like to invite Cabinet to come up and we're gonna read a tribute to the board. That'll close up our recognitions for in here. The recess, Mary, you'll miss the cake too. Sorry about that.
Oh, darn.
Okay, so Cabinet, okay? All right. So this is a tribute to our board. The role of the Arlington School Board is bigger than any one person can do. It takes a fully functioning governance team and a governance team that is dedicated to
educational excellence to support high standards and learning for each student and
informed decision-making where data and data analysis is leveraged to monitor continuous progress of efforts toward the district's strategic plan goals and
removing barriers and increasing access to learning for each student and
adopting policies that align with state and federal laws, which guide a multitude of operations, including but not limited to curriculum adoptions, student health, graduation requirements, finances, accountability, and so much more. And
budget oversight, where the board team works together to use an equity lens to allocate resources toward efficiently toward initiatives that directly benefit students, and
Community partnerships where the board team listens and learns from students, families, staff, and community members to make better decisions.
legislative advocacy that builds bridges of connection that helps the board team gain valuable insight to share with lawmakers who assist with equipping school districts with the resources and support needed to provide positive outcomes to each student.
So, thank you, Arlington School Board team, for playing a crucial role in helping all students thrive, learn, and succeed in their educational journey, so that they can be educated, prepared, and inspired for their future. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mary, you can dismiss us for cake if you'd like, for a recess.
All right. If there's no objections, we will recess this board meeting for 15 minutes and return at 6:45.
Thank you, Mary.
Eat cake and enjoy for me. Somebody should have an extra piece.
I'll eat your slice, Mary. I'm just joking. Not gonna eat it. No.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Krista. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Vacation looks good on you. I'm excited for you. Mary, test your audio one more time. You were talking and I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It's just really echoey in the room I'm in.
Okay.
Can
Well,
you
I
hear
can
the
hear you
echo?
fine. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Sounds
I can
good.
hear my own echo. It's pretty loud.
Oh, no, it sounds good from our end.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, is everybody back in their seat? And how is the cake?
Delicious, Mary.
Well,
Sorry,
Awesome.
you missed it, but you're feeling delectable things where you are. So I'm
What
not
flavor?
happy about that.
That's a Eden.
And she has warm sunshine.
Yeah,
What-
you have, what's the temperature over there, Mary?
It's a balmy 78.
Oh,
You asked.
yeah,
Sure, you
okay.
go without cake.
Yeah, you're fine. with that cake. Yeah, boo-hoo.
I got a little sunburn snorkeling today.
All right,
Oh,
stop,
look
stop,
at
stop.
that.
It's enough. We don't want to hear about your time over there. Sunburn.
All right, it's 6:45, so we can go ahead and reconvene this meeting. And thank you to all of the people that helped contribute to the school board appreciation. We're so grateful for your appreciation. Thank you. Next on our agenda is our approval of our minutes. We have our study session and regular meeting minutes from December 9th. Is there a motion to approve the December 9th meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the December 9th meeting minutes. I'll second.
Thank you, Director Watts and Director Knapp. Do we have a vote?
Director Kelly,
I,
Director Watts,
Yes.
President Levesque,
Yes.
Director Knapp.
Yes.
Thank you. The December 9th meeting minutes are approved as presented. The next portion of our meeting would be our public comment portion of our meeting, and I haven't heard of anybody signing up in advance to speak. Is that correct?
No one is signed up.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to say anything? Okay, moving right along, we'll have our consent agenda next. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda for further discussion? Or is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
a second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
Director Kelly,
I,
Director Watts,
I,
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
The consent agenda is adopted. Thank you. Next, we have our new business portion. And the first thing on our new business is our 2025-2026 student enrollment preview. Dr. Sweeting.
Yes, we'll get it going here. So I'm doing the report for Brian Lewis, who's unable to be here tonight. And I've got the clicker here. So the part of the things that we're going to talk about are definitions, factors that influence enrollment, methodology, and current projections. So we've heard about this before, so this is somewhat a review, but the average annual full-time equivalency FTE is the average of the student enrollment in a period of 10 months. So it's September to June of each year. And we use that to determine the funding because we get funded on full FTE. So student, if they're not there a full day, then it's a partial FTE that we're funded for. Head count is the total number of students, which not always, but many times is more than what the FTE is. And there's the definition of what that, and here in this definition, it actually in the WAC describes it by hours. So a full time would be 27 hours and 45 minutes a week, or 5 hours and 33 minutes a day. So they're very prescriptive there. So we've talked about this in the past, and Brian always reminds us that enrollment, it's influenced by many factors. The rate of births, transitions, so from one grade level to another could be different than the rate of enrollment, construction in the area, mobility, and students withdrawing from school, and that definitely happened during the pandemic that we recently had. Those are just some of the factors. Here, Brian was sharing with us that there are the movements or the transitions can be different. And that like from K to first and from 8th to 9th, there's a difference in the factors that influence that. And those factors, those transitional considerations are are considered when we're doing what's called a weighted average methodology. So it's when we do the weighted consideration that those are applied to. So there's three methodologies that we look at and consider to decide about the enrollment for the next year. And this is just, you'll have another opportunity at the end of this month on January 27th to take a final vote of what you would project as a board for our enrollment for next year. And why that's important is because the approved projected enrollment number that the board approves, we do all the staffing for that for the next year. So it really does drive certificated staffing, classified staffing. So one of the methodologies is called the April roll-up. It just takes the current year's projected April enrollment K-11, and you roll it up, those that are here, and then you do, you don't consider the transitions, and you base the kindergarten enrollment on the birth rate or the birth data. And as I think we all know that has been decreasing, not just here, not just in our county, but across the nation. The next methodology is weighted historical average, and it's similar to the third one there about the OSPI cohort survival. But it looks at trends over time. So it's historical. It looks at patterns, and it also it uses also the birth rate, data for the kindergarten enrollment. But it also considers the transitions, that information about the transitions, like from K to 1 and 8 to 9. The OSPI cohort survival is roll up of current students to the next grade level using the prior school year population. And it does predictions for the next year and future year populations. It's really the most sensitive one to the most recent events. And can somewhat misrepresent longer trends over time. So one of the things we have to consider as a board is the volatility of the information that we're using to approve an enrollment prediction or the number. Because if it goes up and down and it's influenced by different things in a way that it's unpredictable, then that's hard for us, especially when we are making decisions on staffing. And then a conservative estimate is one that's very cautious, and it's to avoid, excess in just approximating what the number should be. So those are just considerations. So when you look at this next slide, it takes those thoughts, the conservative look and the volatility on the ongoing, and it just, where do those land? And what you can see is the cohort survival is very volatile versus the April roll up is less. It's much more conservative. So those are the different types of methodology.
And Dr. Sweeting?
Yeah.
I believe you've shown this before, but do we have slides that then tell us what we have, what was predicted and then actuals for that year, and how often we have, by what percentage we've hit that mark? I think that comes in the future. I think Brian has shared that.
Yeah, it might not. I know that for example, for this year, so the board last year,
right,
at the end of January, we voted and you approved a number. And right now, I know as of right now, based on the information we have from September to now, we're about 75 students, if I'm right, 75 students over that.
Good, that's pretty good. That seems like a good.
And the board has done a pretty good job of being close to what we've said. But we've usually been over. There's been a couple of years, there's in the past, maybe a little bit under, but we've been very cautious.
Yeah.
Is that 75 FTE or 75 headcount?
FTE. It's always an FTE.
I mean, if you have the two to choose from, you'd rather be over than under.
Yes, you can. So if you're over, like we are right now, then we make decisions. And we look at the hotspots, because you don't want to the thing about it, if you hire staff for students that don't show up, you're still gonna be paying.
Paying the
them.
staff, yeah.
Right, so
And
you,
benefits and
you
all
have to
that.
balance that. You wanna have the staff that's needed, but, so you just balance that out. And then if you need to add, you'll add it, you know, like in September.
I think I would be curious, just, I think when we have this discussion again, is I would want to look at like where are these extra coming in? I think what I remember, if I remember last year, it was high school students that came in. I think we were about 100 is what I remember.
Yeah, I think Brian's got on the next slide.
Yeah, so that was like, I would just want to say like, is it enrollment numbers coming in from kindergarten or is it, I'm
Well,
guessing probably that.
What's affected us this year and previous year and what's gonna for next is kindergarten numbers are lower than
Yeah.
we anticipated. So we had to collapse some kindergarten classroom, I think last year, and then
Okay.
this year we had to do some.
Kindergarten,
So
okay.
that's where the kindergarten. So this slide, let me explain this. So for next year, this is kind of shows by band, by grade band, K5, 6, 8, and 9, 12, and it has open doors.
That's a big difference. And
it has the K12 subtotal and then running start. So you can see that it has what we budgeted. So the far left column or the second column from the left,
Mhm.
it has this year's budgeted numbers for FTE. So the total is 5,481. So that's what the board approved.
Mhm.
Or Gina, am I saying that correct? Or is it the 5,422? And then we added the running start after that? No,
I can't see it,
Oh,
so
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, it is.
It's 5422
We
is the
put the
subtotal.
running start in our projected number.
It depends on what.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because they're
Running start, okay.
59.
We approved 5,481.
Okay, so
And
we
that
did.
includes running start.
Okay, so we
59
approved that.
students running start.
Okay, so so that column shows what we had, what the board approved last year for this year. And what the bottom line right now is we're 75 FTE open.
Okay,
Not in kindergarten, not in kindergarten, it's in the
Yeah.
grades. So then the next, we've got where I kind of want to draw your attention to is where it says medium, because we tend to go in that column. So in the April roll up, so you're using the April roll up. So for the medium, that's the medium, then you have the high, which is the next column, that's yellow, it's the weighted average, and then the cohort, the OSPI cohort. Survival. But what we're looking at is what Brian shared with Cabinet and myself, is that we're looking at the medium April roll-up, which if you go down to the very bottom, it shows 40 less. But what drives that in particular is the kindergarten, the K5. Taking into consideration the lower number than we projected for kindergarten.
this year, yeah.
And that they roll up to first grade. So
Right.
that 100, you can see that there's 105 in that band of K5. Then you can see there will be more 6, 8, more 9, 12. Open doors, there's no number there. And then, so the subtotal would be, that 40. So that's where Brian, that's where his numbers has allowed us to be. And so we have to grapple with that a bit.
Yeah, and just to give you my personal experience, so last year I was in kinder at my particular school, we had 4 kinders. Now this year it's reduced to 3, but then that ran through the snake, so now we have 4 firsts. We might need 4 seconds, like at some point that'll kind of,
Right.
collapse a bit, but yeah, I'm interested to see when the housing becomes inhabited that's over in that area. And I'm not sure what is planned for Arlington.
We do have some townhouses that are being built right now. And they typically don't bring the same number as, single family homes. In the future, there are some single family homes in the works. So there will.
I'd be curious about the housing that's behind it. It's actually that way towards, I don't remember what that Gilman Trail is, that the homes here, if they seem they're of a price point and the number of bedrooms, that they're kind of family oriented. I'd be curious how many, like what percentage of the homes that are built are families that are then used in our schools. I'd be curious, because that's a fairly large development that's behind Post. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking
I
about.
think
yeah.
so, down the
Yeah.
hill. a little
Down
bit.
the hill.
Charm.
Yeah, it's right Country Charm, yeah, that
Yeah.
area, so.
One of the questions that, during our agenda planning that was asked of me was about and asked of Brian, was about our, out of district. And so we gathered, thank you to Brenda, helping us with gathering some information, and we still have more to do, but basically, it's been pretty stable. It's increased somewhat this last year, this year, but it hovers around about 700 students coming into us. We have about 250 that go out, but this year, it's, when you add up that total, we're a little bit above that. There is some increase with Marysville, but it's not like doubled.
Right.
You know, it's just, there is some
Okay.
increase. And when the question's asked of me, well, how many they are, approved to come in, how many stay? It's a high percentage. I don't know exactly what it is, but a high percentage stay.
Okay.
Let's see what's on the next slide. So the one that we're actually looking at, that the district wants the board to consider, is the medium April roll-up, which is this 40 less.
And that has worked out for us and has been more conservative.
Pretty close. I mean, we may get more information between now and the end of the month, but this is where we're at. We can make adjustments. It's just, we want to make sure that we're not overstaffed in particular areas. So the next slide's the same thing, it's just broken out. And let's see, this is a comparison of the actual enrollment to budgeted enrollment over the years. And so you can see, we're so close. We're getting better and better, at it.
21, 22 was hard to predict.
That was very hard because of where we were. We were pretty hopeful. We were hopeful that students would, come back and enroll after. So this gives you a pattern. So I think that if you look in particular at 22, 23 and on, 23, 24 and 24, 25, we're getting better at being as close as possible to what actual enrollment is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot for sure, because you don't want to, what isn't comfortable either is when you've got this abundance of students and then you're like, okay, now we need to quickly, pinch hit and get that other teacher in there. It's a lot of, I don't know which is harder, but.
We do cabinet and directors meet. It's almost the first 10 days of school to monitor the enrollment.
Okay.
And when there's hot spots or if we need to add a classroom or, take away, collapse a classroom, we want to do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
We've done that.
Better for everybody.
Mary, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you for answering my questions from earlier.
Well,
Does anybody else have any other questions about our enrollment preview? We'll take action on that at our next meeting. Next up is our McGranahan PBK Architects contract for architectural and engineering services for capital projects funded by the 2024 capital levy. And this is an action item, and we will be having our student advisors weigh in on this one. And I think Dr. Sweeting's going to share information about this one too. It's the Chris show tonight.
I know. So this is, with fortunately passing the capital levy for 2024, we have projects. And this, the board actually approved McGranahan to do this work, and this is the contract for that. But I thought it was really, I printed out what the projects were and which schools. So we have projects for Arlington High School. That is a variety of projects, roof in particular and gutters. There's projects in there for the district office, which I was, painting, and there's some other things that need to be taken care of, ceilings and plumbing. Eagle Creek, There's flooring, there's internal walls, there's things in there too. There's the French house, which is the house right down near support services. They need a new chimney, and there's some other utilities. So it's kind of interesting to see that what was approved is going to go towards many places. The paperwork also shows how a middle school has roofing, paint, kitchen equipment, parking and paving. It has for Kent Prairie, it has there's some backflow preventer that we need to have for some work that we already did. Intercom system, and there's a replace the entire system within the main office and library and hallway. So there's a variety of things there. Pioneer, paving, landscaping, interior walls, some plumbing. They just got painted, but now they're gonna have some of that. And then it has presidents, which will be kitchen equipment, ductwork, plumbing, kinds of things. And then SVLC, I know they're gonna get new ramps.
New ramps,
New
please. New
ramps, a toilet room, bathroom.
Yes, yes.
A variety.
I want to be there for the ribbon cutting.
Heat pumps. And then transportation center, it'd be fencing, exterior walls, some paving, because it's really a lot of potholes. And stormwater systems, and Weston High School, some paving, roofing, exterior walls, that's part of our lease, that we do certain things. And exterior windows and things and plumbing. So a lot of things are involved in that, so that's what's before you for taking vote.
This is a quick question. I was just thinking about this. How, with Weston's enrollment, have we seen a fair amount of growth? Like, I'm just wondering, it seems like it feels very solid to me, and I feel like that's an opportunity, right? Like, so maybe the front end isn't, the kindergarten group is not as robust, but I feel like what Weston is doing and the services, what they are as a school, provides so much, and a range is under that one roof. I don't know, I just wondered how much, like, if we need the data on how much it's grown, like in the past 5 or
We've
10
done
years.
that numbers.
Yeah, numbers, do you know, like, how much it's grown?
We haven't done the enrollment numbers per building, but I know that it houses the Open Doors program and it's
Right.
grown.
Yeah.
It also has our transition.
Right.
Program.
I know.
That's there for 18 to 22-year-olds.
Right.
And it's the numbers for the day program are very stable.
Yeah. I feel like that's an area, I don't know, I feel like we're providing so much, and not that I want to cannibalize the, student market, but you can pull in from, I mean, what we're providing is very solid, it's a bricks and mortar school. And I don't know enough data about what other schools provide. I don't know, but I feel like, what we offer, I want to continue to support that, obviously, but it just seems to me like that would be something to look at as a growth opportunity.
Yeah, the facility advisory committee there'll be a group that will study potential, what would it be for Weston and maybe SVLC? Could we in the future combine those programs in a different building?
Yeah.
That we own?
Yes.
It's
We
part
know
of a
Brian's.
study. Part of a study.
Yeah, okay, great.
That's all I have on that.
Right, any questions about any of the capital levy project details or any of the projects?
Grateful
Your
that we
student
can.
advisors? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Erica.
I'm just grateful that we can.
Too.
Yeah, thank you, voters. All right, this is a student advisory vote. And so we're going to ask our student advisors how they would vote if they could give their approval. What would they say? Would they say yes or no? Deja, can you give us a yes or a no advisory vote for this? And any thoughts?
I would vote yes.
Thank you. And anything you want to share about it?
I think it's good that we're able to use these funds that were like being given. because there are things that our schools need, that need improvement and stuff. Just to help maintain the quality of our buildings. So I think it's good that we're able to have the money to do all.
Yes, thank you, Deja. Nathan, are you still with us on Zoom?
I am, yes.
Yay! And how would you vote for the McGranahan contract? For the
Yeah,
architects?
I would also vote yes. It's really great that we have a board that prioritizes safety, but also quality assurance. Obviously, a lot of these things are basic things that we need for students to feel safe and our staff members to feel safe, like roofing and flooring. I saw looking at the kitchen remodeling as well. So all these things are pretty, I don't want to say basic, but very necessary items that need to be addressed. So I'm grateful for our board to be able to recognize these things and make improvements.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you for our student advisory vote. Next up, we'll have a motion to hopefully approve the contract with McGranahan Architects for the capital projects. Do we have anyone want to give a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with McGranahan. I'll second.
It's been moved by Director Watson, seconded by Director Kelly to approve the contract with McGranahan Architects for the capital project funded by the 2024 capital levy as presented. Madam Clerk?
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp, yes.
Motion passes and that contract is approved. Next up is our first reading of our board policies 3241 discipline, 3420 anaphylaxis prevention and response, 6600 transportation, 6701 recess and physical activity, and 6702 wellness. That's a lot, but we're going to have Carrie Helgeson, or the superintendent is going to speak for Carrie Helgeson about the 3241 for discipline. So Dr. Sweeting?
Yes, this, I think WASDA has made some corrections or changes, revisions here for us. In the very first paragraph, what they've done is they took out the discipline definition, and they haven't just deleted it altogether. They've moved it to the procedure. So they've taken, it's actually in the procedure, and the part of this is that they have new terms called discretionary and non-discretionary discipline, and those two are now defined in the procedure. So just want the board to understand that. And let's see what else is in here. So if you go through, there are sections that are crossed out, and pretty much they're crossed out because they are moving things. They're aligning it with the new law, but they're also moving things to procedure that are more procedural rather than policy. So that's, and we've updated some of we've added some legal, so those are there too. So that's what I have. And I know that Carrie, when she is back, for second reading, she'll be able to address any of those. So if the board does have specific questions, I appreciate when you send them, then I can let Carrie know.
Okay.
We can do a search of that. That's what I have. First reading on the 3241.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeting. Next up for the anaphylaxis prevention and response 3420, we'd like to welcome Dave McKellar, our Director of Special Education.
Good evening, President Levesque and directors. This is first reading for policy 3420, anaphylaxis prevention and response. Basically, the language is just updating that we have stocked epinephrine, the EpiPens, are in all of our buildings now. These are provided to us through a national program free of charge. They do have expiration dates, but right now we have them in all of our nurses' office for those students who, and typically it's happened a couple times at the high school where students self-carry. but they got him. Imagine that for high school male students, this example I'm thinking of. But anyway, so now we have them in stock and they're just fine. It doesn't relieve parents or families of the responsibility to still provide for their child's medical well-being, but this gives us, much like in a couple more policies, you'll hear from me again for our second reading with Narcan. This is something that we have available now for all students. Any questions on the policy?
Do our student advisors have any questions about EpiPens? Or this policy about EpiPens? Do any other board members have any questions about this policy or any suggested changes they'd like to make?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. Dave, we appreciate you attending our meeting and explaining that one. Next up is our transportation policy 6600 and Dr. Sweeting.
Yes, the main thing that's changed here, there's a paragraph that's been added. Let's see. Can you go back up to that? Brenda? What's the number that you're thinking of it different? Yeah, that's, I think
Yes,
that's right. 600.
that's what you have, transportation.
Right. But just keep going down, we'll go through it.
Okay.
Okay, so this the school bus trespass, and it's talking about misdemeanor for individuals who, you know, enter or remain unlawfully on a school bus. And just what would happen and you know, because it causes a risk and harm to our kids. And this is about safety.
Would this be a student that doesn't go to our school or an adult? Or both?
Doesn't say student, it says individual, so I'm assuming that, and not for this one, I don't have the folder, so I don't know what the policy news said on it, but when it says individual,
So it could be either.
I mean, it says it doesn't apply to enrolled students. Is that what you were
oh
asking?
yeah, that's what it says, this doesn't apply to enrolled students, law enforcement officers, or other authorized personnel, so it's really other people like a parent.
That's what I was thinking. I was just trying to do the scenario.
Or
Yeah.
a community member.
Okay.
If they were to enter or remain on the bus. And an emergency situation were, you know, happening, it's important that we protect the safety of our students, and there have been situations where. You know, a parent has come and not happy, and so then we have to go through that, and they're not to enter that bus.
Okay, yeah, because it's essentially the school property at that point, right? I would imagine. I just didn't think you'd have to write it in a policy, but I guess you do.
Yeah. And this is recommended, it came out on the policy and the news from October 2020.
Yeah.
So it's something that may have happened elsewhere too. And, it's about safety of our students. Could be even, maybe it's an adult brother or sister. That's someone that's taking their brother or sister to the bus stop. I don't know. It's just mainly it's about civility, you know, and safety.
But law enforcement can get on the bus.
Yes.
I'm just thinking of scenarios where maybe there are students who. You know, immigrant students.
Yeah, it says, doesn't apply to the enrolled students in our district. And it doesn't apply to law enforcement officers or other authorized personnel engaged in the performance of their official duties. It could be like a fireman, you know, whatever, you know, somebody that was coming on there for that purpose. And if an individual has a written consent from the district to allow them, like, for example, the mayor and the chief of police, they rode the bus the first day of school with me. So they have that permission to do it. They're official. So this is all about safety and making sure that we have it in policy.
I imagine it's tied to a law and it was already, but we're just aligning the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other questions about the buses? Okay, that,
Deja has a question.
go Deja.
I actually have a question about like, if there's something else somewhere about a student from within our district, because like, this doesn't apply to students of our district, but and it says, to remain unlawfully on a school bus, but like, if a student's posing a risk to others on the school bus, like, would that, how would the policy apply to that, or is there like a different one, or?
Be a different way, but be disciplined.
So you might mean a student that's from like even on a different bus goes to a bus that isn't their home bus and then they're causing trouble
Yeah.
on that bus, yeah.
Because this is in the 6,000 series. There's probably one that would describe it in the 3,000s for discipline or for involving students. Maybe.
Yeah, it would be good to see the policy where it applies to school buses, because I know what you're saying, like the discipline we have for schools. But is it specifically for school buses?
Right, because there's
for
like,
students? Yeah.
because this applies to people on a school bus, so I was just wondering if there's one that applies to students on a school bus.
Is that
enroll
school
students on it, Yeah.
Yeah, we would follow the same procedures as we have following in the school building. If a student's being disruptive, or being unsafe, then we would follow those protocols. The bus driver, depends on what the behavior is.
Yeah.
But the bus driver would, if they need to, they'd pull over and call for help.
That was a really good question, Deja. Thank you for sharing. Any other questions about this policy, 6600? All right. Let's go ahead and move to our next policy for first reading, 6701, recess and physical activity, and 6702, wellness. I'd like to welcome Carrie Henderson Burke, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. Good evening.
President Levesque, I hope the weather stays beautiful for you. All right, so these two policies, 6701 and 6702, are all of the writing is in red. It's listed as a new policy, but each of them is actually separated from a different policy, a sprawling policy on nutrition and wellness and PE and recess. So WASDA called it detangling. They're detangling these four policies, and it's not just for your conditioner. Detangling happens with work policy too. So on the recess and physical activity for 6701, again, there really aren't any changes to the wording that was originally in that section on that first policy. It's just guaranteeing a minimum number of minutes for elementary kids for recess each day and encouraging schools to provide multiple opportunities for movement over the course of the day.
What does it say the minimum is for physical recess time?
Not much, really. 30 minutes a day is
So
the
we-
minimum.
The minimum, you have leverage, okay.
Yeah.
Is there a max?
I just feel like recess has been reduced since I was a kid. I just remember two like party times outside. I just feel like kids don't get that.
Our elementaries each have two 15-minute recesses, AM and PM, and then 20 minutes after or before a 20-minute lunch.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Plus PE plus movement breaks are. Schools do a good job of making sure. And of course, the recesses for elementary, but the movement breaks and the other opportunities that are mentioned are for all schools.
Sure, yeah.
Does anybody have any input or changes they'd like to suggest for the recess and physical activity policy? And wellness?
Onto wellness. So there is the same situation, all red listed as new, but the same language that we've had connected to other policies. The thing I think to know about this one is it does include a committee. Ed Aylesworth and I typically work together because the wellness committee covers a lot of territory, but a lot of nutrition, a lot of meal services, a lot of reminders about what snacks are okay and the guidelines that we follow. So the wellness committee does a triennial every 3 years, conducts the review and does an assessment and generates priorities and then takes actions based on what.
One thing that I saw when I was looking at this was the family and community engagement, and I was wondering, I couldn't come up with like any examples of what we were doing for the family and community engagement, but I thought you'd probably know.
Yeah, it's a bit challenging when it comes to nutrition, because there are some fairly strict guidelines. When it comes to smart snacks for family and community engagement, we do communicate with families generally in handbooks or early at the start of the year, like these are our recommended snacks if you want to bring things in for a celebration. It doesn't have to be food. It could be, you could bring in games or you could host an event, or if it's food, we would recommend these, and here are the guidelines around it. So we do want parents to come in and celebrate their kids whenever possible. And so that's part of how that's handled. It is a bit of a challenge though, because the guidelines are pretty strict.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the wellness policy? All right, thank you, Carrie. Next up is our second reading and adoption of Board Policy 3424 opioid related overdose reversal. And we'd like to welcome back Dave McKellar, our Director of Special Education.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've had our first reading and now I think we briefly just talked about like buses and things like that. This is basically anybody can have Narcan upon their persons. So it's kind of where we stand. We do have them again in all of our AED boxes that are throughout the district. Nurses have them. But again, other adults, other students themselves could carry this around.
Do you have to get trained on that to actually carry it? Is that kind of that, no, you can just get it? It'd be helpful to have the training. Okay, just thought.
I would be a little terrified if I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't there instructions like in the box? Yeah, or how to use it. It's like amazing.
And where, how is that funded?
It's free to our district. Krista, are you still on? I'm gonna phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Is it no, it's on a
She
phone?
may have stepped away. But it is, it's provided free to us in our system, so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there was something in our meeting yesterday, the legislators were saying something about, cost to districts and, putting some of that back on the public or, so if it's provided to us, then that's not an expense that we're incurring, so. That's good. Although this
So I guess that's a good question, because there is this part where it says, we're talking about self-caring individuals must show proof of training as verified by a licensed, registered, professional nurse employed or contracted by the district. So like, yeah, with that, since training isn't required.
Yeah, I
does that need
just
to be in there.
Well, students.
Or am I misreading that?
It's on the top, that top paragraph right there.
The red or
It's
the
not
black?
in red, it's right
below.
after
So it's
the
current
red.
language.
It's right after the, and those who obtain.
Must show proof of training.
Yeah, they have to be trained.
So that's saying for an employee.
Yes.
Oh, an
Yes.
employee, okay,
Yes,
so
an
not.
employee.
Right, so not the
a
kid,
student.
not a student, okay.
Right.
That kind of makes sense, because again, you're an employee, you're representing the district.
Okay.
That makes sense, yeah, I get it. So like if I was a teacher and I decided to carry it, I need to show proof that I wanted to. Makes sense.
All right, any other questions? I was hoping our student advisors would weigh in on this one, if they've had any questions from any of their peers, or they've had any curiosity or wonderings about this Narcan policy and how it applies in the high school.
Sure, I don't think that very many people honestly even know about it. At least in like my circle of friends, it's not really been something that we've talked about, I don't think. Because generally, the use of Narcan doesn't really come up in conversation that often. But I think I personally think that it's a good thing because unfortunately drugs are becoming more and more common in our society, especially among teenagers, and overdose is it's everywhere. Like no matter what you do, it's just it can be in anything. It can even be in prescription drugs. Like you can people can overdose just on something they're supposed to take every single day. So it just having Narcan in schools can help prevent death by overdose, I suppose.
Thank you, Deja. Nathan, anything from you?
No questions. I think Deja said it really well. The more that we can do inside the district and inside our campuses to prevent overdose, the better that all students and staff will be. So, yeah.
Nathan, this is a second reading, and so it is an action item. We would love to have a motion for adoption of board policy 3424, opioid related overdose reversal.
Make a motion, we approve policy 3424.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve board policy 3424. Madam Clerk.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Watts. Aye. President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that. Next, we're going to move on to our second reading and adoption of board policy 5005, and that is our employment and volunteers disclosure, certification requirements, assurances, and approval. And that's a long one. We would like to have Eric DeYoung join us. Hello, Eric.
Hello, good evening, directors. Happy Board Appreciation Night. Thank you for all you do. This one we went over the second reading, of course, so just like a couple little things that were changed on this. A definition was added and a couple minor changes, so not a lot. This one was really changed.
Any questions for Eric on this one, or do we have a motion to approve board policy 5005?
Motion to approve. Board policy 5005.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve board policy 5005, employment and volunteers disclosure, certification requirements, assurances, and approval. Madam Clerk.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Yes.
President Levesque,
Yes.
Director Knapp.
Yes.
All right. With that one is approved. And next we're moving on to board policy 6530, insurance, for second reading and adoption also. And we would like to welcome Dr. Sweeting, right?
No, this is Eric also.
Eric. Thank you, Eric. Welcome back.
Is that really your savior?
I'm going, okay, I'm paperwork.
No, I have this one. This one I think normally, well, Brian, I think originally got it, but it's really mine because I deal with insurance stuff. So this was passed along to me to deal with. And again, like the previous one, there's not a lot of really huge changes here, just some small edits. I think the final page has the biggest change, which is basically adding some sub language and HCA. So not, mainly just superficial changes that keeping up with the.
This is
current-
insurance for what, like health insurance?
This is health insurance, yes, but I mean, there's different kinds of insurance that it deals with here, but this F is medical insurance.
Okay.
Any changes suggested, or do we have a motion to approve board policy 6530 insurance?
Make a motion, we adopt board policy 6530 insurance.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve 6530 insurance. Madam Clerk?
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Watts,
Yes.
President Levesque,
Yes.
Director Nat.
Yes.
Thank you. Policy 6530 is approved. Moving on to second reading and adoption of policy 6690, contracting for transportation services. And this was going to be Brian, but now it's going to be Chris.
Yes, all right, so you can see the changes. We did have first reading on this already, and there were not any changes. Brian had explained to us, especially the second paragraph, when the district provides transportation through a private non-governmental entity, that we have to comply with all the requirements, like background checks and insurance that's listed in the RCW, and provide that information to OSPI. I don't think there were any other questions when you first presented it to us.
All right, any questions from any board members, or are we ready to take action? Do we have a motion to approve board policy 6690?
Make a motion, we approve policy 6690.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve board policy 6690, contracting for transportation services. Madam Clerk?
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Nat.
Yes.
Thank you. 6690 is approved. Moving on to the last policy for the evening, our second reading adoption of board policy 6959, acceptance of completed project. And this will be Chris again.
Okay, so this is second reading, and you can see in red that it's basically talking about following the laws, of the public works project, and that those would be follow the laws. They'd be completed and during the right time. That it also talks about that we're not going to release the final payment until all the items have been received. So there's clarity there. Down below the last portion, that's there's a part that's crossed out, then it's been replaced with the language that's in red. It's talking about that these kind of contracts are not complete until the board has taken action to accept the projects, and that we will follow all the laws that apply to this kind of work. And says that it talks about the 60 days and the receipts and whichever comes later. So it says that for projects receiving state funding assistance, the district will follow all the rules for OSPI. And I don't think there were any questions like the last time when Brian presented it to us.
Any questions tonight on this one? Do we have a motion to approve board policy 6959, acceptance of completed project?
I'll make a motion to approve policy 6959.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve board policy 6959, acceptance of completed project. Madam Clerk?
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Thank you. That policy 6959 is approved. Next up on our new business portion of our meeting, we have our resolution of our PERT complaint. Dr. Sweeting.
Okay, I am going to read something that we are required to read, and this is a notice that's going to be posted up here at the district office. And it's a notice to employees of an unfair labor practice, and we just recently resolved this with PERC. And this will talk about what it was and then what the remedy is. So at the beginning, it says state law And it says gives you, it's talking to the employees. So state law gives you the right to self-organize, join, or assist labor or employee organizations. Bargain collectively through a representative of your choice. Refuse to pay dues to a union unless you have affirmatively agreed to make such payments. The Washington State Public Employees Relations Commission, PERC, conducted a legal proceeding, and they issued a ruling that Arlington Public Schools committed an unfair labor practice and ordered that this notice be posted to employees and read at board meeting. We unlawfully refused to bargain with the Arlington non-rep group. We unlawfully unilaterally changed the wages, hours, or working conditions of employees in the non-rep group without providing the union with an opportunity to bargain the decision or effects. The remedy, so to remedy our unfair labor practices, we will, upon request, negotiate in good faith with the non-rep group and its designated representatives. We will restore the status quo ante by returning the work which was done by the Executive Assistant to Operations, EAO position, to the non-rep group bargaining unit. We will give notice to and upon request, negotiate in good faith with the non-rep group before transferring bargaining unit work to job positions that are outside the bargaining unit. We will give notice to and upon request, negotiate in good faith with the non-rep group before changing a bargaining unit positions, work hours, or removing work from the bargaining unit. We will restore the status quo ante by reinstating the wages and hours that existed for the BPAC coordinator position prior to the unilateral change found unlawful in this order. We will not in any other manner interfere with, restrain, or coerce our employees in the exercise of their collective bargaining rights under the laws of the state of Washington, Arlington. And I will say that, we value our employees and, we want to work, together with them, that they feel that they are valued, and we want to make sure that we're making right decisions, but also, making sure that we make decisions that benefit the whole system as well. So that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeting. Next up is our informational items portion of our meeting. And the first item is our superintendent's report. Dr. Sweeting.
Okay, Happy New Year. That's my first thing on my list. And I just wanted to say this weekend, I attended with Director Kelly, the legislative conference, and it was very good. We got to hear from a couple of legislators, Senator Wellman and Representative Santos, and it was just great to hear their perception about what's coming, because this session started today. And we had a guest speaker that talked about the Dignity Index, and that was really it was good. It was good information. Really appreciated that. And also the breakout sessions, we both went to a couple together, and they were good as well. But one of them was focused on crafting a legislative plan, which we did that. Another one was understanding the legislative landscape that's out there and what we need to support K-12. Talked about the big three, which our board has voted as their priorities. So amply fully fund special education, amply fully fund the MSOCs, and transportation. So I just want to again thank the board for serving and supporting all of our students. It's good work. Thank you so much. So
thank you, Dr. Sweeting. Next up is our legislative update and discussion. Director Kelly, anything to share with us for our legislative update?
Just what Dr. Sweeting said, that so the legislature started today. It was important to have Senator Wellman and Representative Santos there to hear. They understand our needs and nod their heads a lot, but understanding that it's one pie, and we are having a very big ask, but others are coming to that same table asking. And I think Representative Santos kind of alluded to understand what you're asking for, but if you're asking this and we give this, it comes out of somewhere else. So that's understandable. I think we will still be clear in our message. We will still go forward and get what we can for our students. That's important. So it was great having them there. They're very influential and they know they're very rooted in this. I wanted to bring up though, and I want to explore this several, something here in the near future. So a person that was on the leadership group with me, I met up with other friends there. That was great. And Shauna, she's a legislative rep for the Snohomish School District. And she asked me if if our board had adopted policy 4310 and 4310P. And those are district relationships with law enforcement and other governmental agencies, and model policy and procedure 3226, interviews and interrogations of students on school premises. These are, we have a pretty concerned community of immigrants. This is what she's telling me in our area, and they are planning on looking to adopt those policies. These policies are redundant. They show our community that we are doing all we can to ensure the safety of our children and families. So I would like to explore that further.
We have 4210.
We've already done those in 4310. So we've already adopted that. So that's.
And 4310 4310 is district relationships with law enforcement and other government agencies.
Okay. So that's what I was saying about that bus situation there is, you kind of hear stories in the media. So I just wondered where, what the protections are for students. If you have in law enforcement, if you have ICE, are there ICE allowed on the bus? Is ICE allowed in the school? I don't know these things, just, bringing that, just an education on my part to understand that. But I would say that the group I've connected with, I'm connected with Charlotte Murray. She's in Stanley Camino and kind of understands some of their scenario that they're going through. She's on the labor side. She's employed as a labor person. I'm not doing her justice in her role as her daytime job, but anyway, it's just nice to be connected to people who are like-minded, have similar values. We're there for the students, but even just on a personal level, we share similarities in our thinking, which is good. And it's just good to be connected with regionally with board directors that, we're trying to move some things forward. So anyway, when she brought that up, that was, something I was thinking about because
We have it.
Good. Glad to hear. And we'll just kind of see there's, we have our, as a legislative rep, the meetings tend to be at lunchtime, not something I can attend. But I also realized too that the real priority comes to, is it the Ways and Means? So it really comes down to budget. So there's a lot on the table right now, but if it makes through that, if our bills, see what gets through that portion, and then we can kind of dive in a little deeper. And if there's opportunities to, have any of our board members be on a call, have a concise share. And this can even come from obviously our cabinet and employee teachers, et cetera, that have stories to tell and have that relate would be valuable. So I will keep you abreast of anything that comes my way. But anyway, looking forward to it. It's the longer session, new governor. Oh, I have to say, on a personal note, I am concerned about the potential of OSPI being absorbed. I have understood that is something that the governor is thinking about. So I really respect that OSPI is separate. I think it should remain separate, and being absorbed into a cabinet position, I think would take some of that autonomy away, and that concerns me. So if Mr. Reichel needs my support, I will give it to him. I think that has some value to it. So just going to keep my eye on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Next up is our comments from our board members. I'd like to start with our student advisors. Student Advisor Reed, do you have anything you'd like to share with us this evening?
I don't know. I'm kind of just like getting back into the swing of school right now. Break felt very long, I wish it was longer. I have finals coming up next week, I think. I don't even. Yeah, I think they're next week, which is really fun. So fun all the time. I have a few presentations in my classes in the next few weeks. I have one in my US history class tomorrow actually, which is kind of nerve-wracking because we're being graded on the professionalness of it all, so it's kind of like a little bit scary. I thought it was really nice to have the elementary schoolers here today on the topic of presentations. I've seen quite a few presentations from my peers in the last week, and these fifth graders presented more than or better than some of my peers can. And I thought that was really admirable. Like they're so little and they can already do all that. Like when in fourth grade, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Fifth grade, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I think that's really important that they're being given the opportunity to do that. And I loved flight. I enjoy seeing them sing all the time. I'm one of my really close friends is on flight, and I'm very I just love seeing them perform. It's so entertaining, and they're just amazing. So
Thank you, Deja. Good luck with finals coming up. Nathan, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. First and foremost, happy Board Appreciation Month. Very grateful for this opportunity to be with you all and share this experience. Secondly, over the past couple weeks, I've been speaking with some of my fellow students and asking them questions like, what's really important to you? And one major issue kept coming up. And although I can't speak about it right now, I'm planning on presenting to the board at some point within the coming weeks about my findings and kind of their views and their how it's impacted, especially their mental health. So I'm excited to share that with you guys in the future.
Thank you, Nathan. We're excited to hear from you in the future. Director
Kelly?
Go ahead.
Okay, just getting full swing in, a week into school and just kind of tightening it up. And as I said, yes, we're at day 80, so 100 more to go. Woo! Yeah, first I had a kid come up to me today and said, how many more days till we get to high school? I'm like, years, sir, years. You have years away from high school. It's just cute. First grade doesn't have a great perspective, but yeah, it's going okay. I'm just yeah, I'm feeling I'm excited. I'm excited for this legislative session. And I'm excited for the capital levy. It's a month away. So just very grateful for a very, what feels like a very solid board. And I hope our community really feels our energy and our passion because we really want this for the kids. And I hope that message dissipates through the community and they recognize that this is something that we all can come to the table and agree on because it's for the kids. So, and yes, a wonderful presentation. That was great. And yeah, this is our school's doing an assembly on Thursday. Actually, first grade is kind of the showcase of that. So that's kind of interesting. So I always like having this age group learn something about someone really special and for them to say, was he real? Like, absolutely was real. And I had the author of that book about Martin Luther King Jr. That author was reading on Storyline Online. So it's just, I could just see, and they sing this music. It's just the music, it just goes to your core. And I feel like that's a lovely way to understand the message that Dr. Martin Luther King presented. So looking forward to that this week. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Director Watt, anything you'd like to share with us tonight?
First off, Happy New Year and happy Board Appreciation. bittersweet to enter January and know that just in 100 days or less, I will be graduating. Love seeing my boy up there on flight singing and those young fifth graders speak so eloquently and put on a great presentation, how intimidating in front of a room full of adults. So I am grateful to be on this board. Got to speak, Mary and I got to go speak at City Council, which really felt great. And I'm excited for the January 23rd forum and ready for them to put in the work for the next few weeks to get the.
Thank you. Director Knapp, anything you'd like to share tonight?
Yeah, same as everybody. Happy New Year and what an awesome board appreciation night. I do appreciate the board and the fifth graders who came and spoke. You know, even though it wasn't about board appreciation night, it's sharing struggles that they recognize throughout history. And, you know, it really is encouraging to keep going when we're facing. So when we have to stand up for something and we feel that, you know, maybe it's not the popular opinion. So I think that was very brave and awesome of them. So, and the teachers obviously did a great job crafting this and supporting that because they looked on point. So, and then Flight and Mr. Weaver and all the gifts from Heller, I'm like, that was really, really above and beyond and a nice way to come back. So yeah, same. I'm looking forward to being in schools. I'm going to go read at Kent Prairie. They're doing their one book. They're reading the one and only Ivan. So I'm going to go read a little bit. Yeah. And then go to the unified basketball game later this month. I can't wait for that. We're going to, I guess it's like a pack the gym and also our forum. I'm really glad that our board is working together and just getting out and being involved. And I really appreciate that about each of us. So
It was fitting to hear that presentation though, because that's all what we kind of strive for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you all for sharing. I want to share that I did finally get to see that holiday flight show before Christmas and they were amazing. And even though I couldn't hear them tonight, I could see them and they were so fun to watch. But it was pretty great to have so much joy and happiness come to the board meeting tonight. I want to remind everybody about our next meetings. We have a special joint meeting with Lakewood School District School Board on Wednesday, January 22nd at 5 p.m. At the Arlington District Office in the Lincoln Room. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And then also we have our special meeting event attendance, our capital levy presentation public forum on Thursday, January 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Burns Performing Arts Center. And then we'll have our study session on Monday, January 27th at 4 p.m. in the district office Lincoln Room, followed by the regular meeting at 6 p.m. in the boardroom. So that's a lot of meetings to make sure you put on your calendar. Thank you, Debbie, for keeping us all squared away and on track. We appreciate you. Is there anything else anyone needs to say, or if I skipped anything, please let me know. Or do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Madam Clerk.
Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Yes.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Drive safe, everyone. Have a good night.
Enjoy your time, Mary.